Now, as for bioethics and philosophical bioethics in Finland, first of all, there are gaps in philosophy, and philosophical community, I think it's safe to say in all Nordic countries, is very much divided into either you do continental philosophy or analytic philosophy. And moral philosophy, which bioethics is seen as part of, is very much done on analytic grounds. Bioethics and applied ethics has a very poor reputation in the philosophical community. It's considered as bad philosophy. It's not proper philosophy. It's seen as like people are just saying what they think about it, and it's not. Like proper philosophy is the kind of exegetical work where we try to find out what the hell Hegel was saying. So, and part of the reason is that the most well-known bioethicists have started their work on utilitarian grounds, on utilitarian premises, or at least utilitarianism has provided the framework for doing applied philosophy. So so Peter Singer and John Harris have been kind of the most discussed philosophers and their arguments. So people, I don't know if you know Matti Häyry and Torbjörn Tenscher, who's a Swedish philosopher, who are quite well known in Europe, are considered as, and all these guys are considered as utilitarians, and utilitarianism is often seen as an intellectually kind of a cheap theory, and Peter Singer especially has a very poor reputation as a philosopher in Finland. He's not considered as a good philosopher, which I think is partly true and partly it's just unfair. And because I mean he's not as bad as people say he is, I think. But, and I don't know whether I should go into these. Well, how much time do I left?
You have 5 more minutes of.
Okay, then I'll just skip this. Yeah. But in general, the arguments used for preventing impairments, and especially preventing the existence of people with impairments, is justified on 2 grounds. Either on the grounds of that impairment is seen to compromise people's well-being. So selective abortion is in the best interest of the future child. So that's one way to think about it. And the other reason is to avoid burden to the family or to the parents or to society. Now, burden to society, no politician in their right mind would say publicly and openly that let's abort these fetuses to avoid financial burden. And a few years ago, about, when was it, 10 years ago, it leaked in public that in one hospital, or 2 hospitals, some doctors have made statistical analysis how much we have saved money with the help of these selective abortions. And of course, it was very embarrassing because that kind of it's not seen as a politically very correct thing to do, and of course nobody wanted to have anything to do with that kind of a thing. And as for the disability movement in Finland is politically quite moderate, especially if you compare to England, for instance, where it's quite aggressive. Disability movement does usually regard selective abortion as expressing a hurtful message, that it's so they appeal to the expressive argument. But also, no, they really don't. What is seen as problematic is that these practices and prenatal genetic testing that it's seen as directive and even coercive, as like Dick said, that the information provided is one-sided or even biased. But people don't really want to prohibit the chance for tests or selective abortion. So the ideas of reproductive freedom and autonomy are seen as invaluable principles. And disability movement in Finland has a kind of attitudes towards scientific community, that they respect scientific community, and what they have told me is that it's quite okay for you to do whatever you want to do and write incomprehensible philosophical analysis of the meaning of the concept of disability, for instance. We don't care, that's fine. But occasionally you might want to consider doing something that is actually of use. And I think that's a fair attitude, and I can accept that. So in general, we are Finns are not very passionate people. We are quite even-tempered, as it was stated in the unless when we get drunk, and that's quite often. So there's not a lot of hassle about this. So I suppose that's pretty much what's going on there.